Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Momoshiki's influence can eventually save the Hidden Leaf Village and the Shinobi Way in general, or it could absolutely doom the entire world. We have to understand what Momoshiki and Boruto's relationship is as of right now. It seems that Momoshiki is no longer able to actually take over Boruto's body. It seems that they're just going to be living together for the rest of their lives. Maybe like post-time skip, they create some sort of medicine to actually reverse the effects of the karma seal, and to be honest, even if that's the case, Boruto may actually die by taking it because Boruto would be dead without the karma seal. So I think it's pretty safe to say as of right now, Momoshiki and Boruto, they're probably going to be together for a very, very long time. From what we know, Momoshiki has a lot of access to Boruto. Momoshiki can actually talk to Boruto. Momoshiki himself can actually see what Boruto is seeing. Momoshiki can essentially know exactly everything about Boruto's life and also speak to him. This right here, in my personal opinion, leaves Momoshiki ample time to actually talk to Boruto. Not only that, I think that Momoshiki would probably be forced into talking to Boruto multiple times throughout Boruto's life. Momoshiki and Boruto, they have the propensity to actually build a very, very strong relationship. Some people even compare it to Kurama and Naruto, even though I think it's a little bit different, man, because Momoshiki can't actually take over Boruto's body the same way that Kurama had the opportunity to. Now, Momoshiki and Boruto's relationship could potentially save the world, or it could absolutely end the world. And I definitely do want to talk about the good influence first. Momoshiki knows a bunch about the Otsutsuki clan. One of the things that we do understand right now is that the Otsutsuki clan is probably going to be a very big enemy to the Hidden Leaf Village in this dimension in general for a very long time. Hypothetically, we have a wealth of knowledge about the Otsutsuki clan. It could go a long way in actually fortifying our defenses. This right here is just assuming that Momoshiki is probably going to eventually switch sides and end up being alongside Boruto, and that right there in itself is a big ask. But the reason why we could possibly assume something like that, this is a shonen series and Boruto is the star character. It would be absolutely common for the Boruto writer to make Boruto, being the star character of the show, be the first human to actually make a genuine connection with a member from the Otsutsuki clan. It would almost mimic the exact same thing with Naruto and Kurama's relationship, where Naruto was the first person to actually communicate and actually be friends with all of the other tailed beasts, outside of Hagoromo, of course. But as I was talking about earlier, when it comes to knowledge, I think that Momoshiki would probably be the best Otsutsuki member that we'd probably have on our side as of right now, and possibly even lend itself to a potential Otsutsuki arc, something that we've all been asking for a very long time. Now, on top of that, one of the things that a lot of people haven't necessarily been talking about as of yet is, of course, the possibility of Momoshiki actually training Boruto. The reason why this right here isn't necessarily brought up a lot is because Code did actually mention that Boruto will eventually learn all the battle experiences of Momoshiki Otsutsuki. But what we did actually realize about 2 chapters ago, Boruto just himself utilizing the karma seal is still not necessarily as strong as Momoshiki Otsutsuki controlling Boruto's body, and still Boruto using the karma seal doesn't necessarily know everything that Momoshiki Otsutsuki knows as well. Now, you guys might say, hey, Boruto could potentially learn it eventually, but we do understand that Boruto is going to have some big fights coming up, especially Code, especially against Damon, especially against Ida. And one of the things that we do actually anticipate is these 2 Otsutsuki members that were represented by these broken stone symbols in the Otsutsuki dimension that Sasuke did actually visit. And to even double down with the Naruto and Karma comparison, it's definitely a possibility that we get to see a brand new form from Boruto once Momoshiki and Boruto actually do become quote-unquote friends, and the form itself could probably be completely contingent upon the Jogen. One of the things that we do understand right now is that the Jogen could potentially be one of the strongest dojutsus in the entire series, but Boruto himself just does not know how to use the Jogen. Hypothetically, if Momoshiki and Boruto actually do become friends, it would not necessarily be out of the realm of possibilities for Boruto to potentially even have access to some of Momoshiki's powers while utilizing something like the Jogen. Now, of course, this right here is just all headcanon, but when it comes to a shonen battle like this, and of course Boruto being the main character who kind of needs to stack up against another character like Kawaki, who already has Ishiki Otsutsuki's dojutsu, it would not be a big surprise if Boruto were to get another power-up in the future to potentially match that power-up from Kawaki himself. Now, of course, there is that other side, the possibility that Momoshiki's influence can absolutely turn Boruto's world completely upside down. One of the things that a lot of people have actually criticized Boruto for is the lack of strong ideals in the actual villains. For example, some people bring up Ishiki Otsutsuki's goals versus a character like Nagato or Pain's goals and say, hey, Nagato and Pain had a much stronger resolve. What he was doing wasn't necessarily just in the search of power, and similar with Momoshiki Otsutsuki, and similar with Kinshiki Otsutsuki, and even similar with Kage Otsutsuki. Some people think that those villains are just mundane, drawn out, of course overdid, and what I think, and it's definitely possible because this right here is something that we didn't necessarily get in part 1 of Naruto, the true ideals of the Otsutsuki clan could potentially be revealed in part 2 of Boruto, post time skip. For example, back in Naruto part 1, of course there were some very good villains back then, but some of the biggest villains, their ideals weren't necessarily the strongest. For example, Orochimaru wanted to learn every single jutsu that there was, he wanted to become immortal, things such as that. And of course Itachi as well, at that particular time, his goal essentially was to just test the limits of his abilities. Now in part 2 of Naruto, we later found more villains, and of course Itachi's ideals were completely different and 100 times even more complex. I personally do believe similar things like this can actually happen with the Otsutsuki clan. And as much as a lot of people do assume that Boruto is eventually gonna talk no jutsu Momoshiki and get Momoshiki onto his side, it's honestly the same possibility the other way. Momoshiki talks to Boruto, and eventually Boruto starts to see Momoshiki's way of thinking, and of course joins Momoshiki and starts to become an active member of the Otsutsuki clan, going from dimension to dimension and eating a bunch of chakra fruits. And even past Momoshiki talking Boruto to his side of the fence, we also have to take into account that Momoshiki possibly still has the ability to take over Boruto's body whenever he actually wants to. Momoshiki started to take over Boruto's body when Momoshiki's DNA was 80% decompressed, and of course in some of the most recent chapters we found out that Boruto is currently 82%, and we even seen Momoshiki again take over Boruto's body when he was 82%. So now if we think, I mean, Boruto is still going to be remaining 82% of Momoshiki Otsutsuki for the rest of his life, so it wouldn't necessarily be surprising if Momoshiki were to take over Boruto's body a lot more in the future, for two reasons. One is obviously going to be to protect Boruto when Boruto is in like times of trouble, similar to what he was in Battle versus Boro. But also number two, Momoshiki can actually try to take Boruto's body. We've seen Momoshiki try to do this multiple times, and Boruto kind of broke out of it both times. But here's the thing, the more Momoshiki tries to take over Boruto's body, the more experience that Momoshiki is going to have, the more times that Momoshiki is going to understand the triggers to actually get Boruto to take back over his own body. This right here is very troubling to me personally. There is 100% a possibility that in the future it could be like an Ishiki Otsutsuki and Jigen situation. Now if you guys are just a little bit unfamiliar with the Ishiki Otsutsuki and Jigen situation, Ishiki Otsutsuki seemed like he was 100% in control over Jigen's body. Now that situation can't necessarily be a one-to-one comparison with the Boruto and Momoshiki situation. That's a fact, man, because Ishiki Otsutsuki was actually alive in Jigen's case. But one of the things that actually does get me a little bit worried, the first time that Momoshiki took over Boruto's body, Momoshiki almost understood that he couldn't necessarily stay in Boruto's body forever. The second time though, and even the third time though, it seemed as though Momoshiki did not actually want to give Boruto his body back. So in the future, it definitely would not be far-fetched at all for Momoshiki to try to permanently take over Boruto's body, even while not completely reviving in Boruto's body. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Give me what you guys think. Do you guys think that Momoshiki's influence on Boruto is going to eventually be good, or do you guys think it's probably going to eventually be bad? But let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Bar B, and we out.
It's a knife.